Drop the gun! Show me your hands!
We're going to compare the cities of Baltimore, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. These two cities are just over 30 miles apart from city centers as the crow flies, and although they aren't technically adjacent cities, their suburbs are suburbs of each other. The two cities are close in population, with Baltimore at 563,000 people and D.C. has 631,000 people. D.C. is the 29th largest city in America, and Baltimore right behind them at number 30. Both have declining populations, with D.C. losing 19,000 people a year, and Baltimore losing around 6,500 people a year. Baltimore has been declining since the 1950s, and D.C. started declining in the 50s and made a resurgence in the early 2000s, but 2020 set them back on a decline. Both cities are predominantly black, with Baltimore at 61% of their population and D.C. at 45%. The average age of both cities is relatively close, with Baltimore at 35.7 and D.C. slightly younger at 34.3. 18% of the adults in Baltimore are seniors, where only 15% are seniors in D.C. The average income is where the two cities really separate themselves. Baltimore is at $45,000 a year and D.C. at $75,000. The poverty rate is also higher in Baltimore at 20% to D.C.'s 15%. D.C. has a higher marriage rate, although neither city's marriage rate is very high. As far as home values go, D.C.'s median sale price is over 3 times that of Baltimore. When it comes to schooling, D.C. is slightly better than Baltimore. Baltimore's average test scores are 53% below the national average, and D.C. is only 35% below. 23% of the Baltimore students in both public and private schools are at grade level, for far below the Maryland state average of 40% and further below the 48% national average. D.C. is better, but not by much, at 31%, still well below the national numbers. Crime rates are where we separate the men from the boys, and as bad as D.C. is when it comes to crime, violent crime in Baltimore is 379% worse than the national average, and D.C. is only 147% worse. Comparing the two cities' homicides for the last 5 years, Baltimore has considerably more murders, and in some years twice as many. The murder rates are also much higher, nearly twice as high in Baltimore as they are in D.C. But in 2023, the two cities are neck and neck. As of October 25th, Baltimore is reporting 224 homicides to the 225 in D.C. D.C. is reporting 33% more homicides in 2023 than in 2022. There's good and bad parts of both cities, but the one thing that really separated the two, crime, is now narrowing that gap.